What's up, Giga fam? We are less than a week out from the Black Ops 6 Warzone integration. If you're like me, you love COD, but you have become a Warzone main, I want to have you guys ready to rock and roll day one. I know a lot of you aren't full-time content creators and you've got to be efficient with your time, so we are going to do our absolute best job based on historical knowledge and data that we have in this game, which often correlates, especially with the first iteration of a Warzone integration, to come up with the absolute best guns for you to focus on leveling up in these final days before they integrate BO6 into Warzone. Obviously, it's speculative in nature, but I've been around for every single meta. I have gotten a good feeling for the patterns. I know options that are going to be safe bets, ones that might be a little bit riskier, but if they pay off and they end up being meta, they are going to be absurdly broken. And I also have a feel for the builds that will probably be meta, the stats that you need to focus on, and making sure you have the right attachments on these guns. I'll also throw out some bonus recommendations if you have a little bit more time to level up some other stuff as well. I really just want you guys to be able to hit the ground running. For those of you that are grinders like myself, it'll also just be a really fun thought experiment, and I am dying to know down in the comments what you guys think will be the very first meta of BO6 Warzone. If you guys are new around here, consider subbing. I do live stream daily over on Twitch where I'm partnered and just started multi-streaming here on YouTube as well. Without further ado, let's get into it. At number 10, I have got the XMG. This thing is an absolute laser beam. It is hilariously good handling even when you put the gigantic mags on it. You could even go with the extended mag 2 and have 200 rounds to play with. Let's check out the DPS chart. I'm on TrueGameData.com, the best stats website for Warzone and Call of Duty. I have it organized with a DPS chart because it's kind of useless to look at a 100 HP TTK chart when we're going to be playing on Warzone, which is 300 health. So DPS chart is the best information we currently have access to how these guns might perform in Warzone. And as you can see, for reference, anything over 300 DPS is really, really powerful. These LMGs rip. They're kind of hard to use in multiplayer, obviously, because they can get a little bit cumbersome. But in a Warzone setting where we have two guns, one of which is dedicated to long range, one which is dedicated to close range, we can really kind of specialize these guns. That's why we so often have LMG metas. And this XMG beats the other ones all the way out to just past 60 meters, okay? Has quite a bit of damage fall off past that, which is a bummer, especially for big map. But it's still going to probably be ARs at those ranges. Obviously, the downside is going to be its handling. The Omega Sweat Lords are probably unlikely to use it unless they just overtune it. But if its damage values mirror BO6's, which they likely will, especially in the first iteration, these guys are swamped, you got to keep in mind. They're going to be copy-pasting a lot of stuff over from BO6. This thing is going to be an absolute unit. Coming in at number 9, we got the ASG-89. Warzone has a long history of these like auto or spammy semi-auto shotguns being meta, whether it be the Origin, whether it be the Broadside. There's been some crazy, crazy shotgun metas. This thing has that written all over it. Could very well, day one, be absolutely ridiculous. Seems very likely it will at least be competitive. We haven't had a ton of pump shotties be meta in the history of Warzone. That's why I think if you're only going to level one shotgun, this would be the one to have ready. These attachments, I also expect to make it kind of crazy. Especially if we're able to put 8 attachments on there, being able to have the drum mag, bring down the sprint to fire, bring up the movement speed, raise the fire rate, tighten up the bullet spread, as well as increase the range. Being able to do all of these things, I think, is likely to create an overpowered shotgun. Have this thing ready. At number 8, we got the SVD. I feel like this thing is a risky option. It's either going to be absurdly broken or quite useless depending on how they decide to transfer things over. I've got the build on screen for you. Interestingly, the overpressured rounds increase bullet velocity. On these snipers, we want to go for maximum bullet velocity. But when you delve into the data, there is some interesting things about this which I think may make it grossly overpowered. Before we get into the stats on these snipers, just wanted to throw up number 7, which is the LR762. This thing will be a rooftop camper's dream. Somebody that likes to do recons, play power positions for the dub. This thing will probably have the longest hit scan range. You are going to be giving out free haircuts. I expect it to have at least a one-shot range, if not infinite. This is going to be a safe bet to have ready for BO6 Warzone if you like to snipe. So if we look at the weapon stats for the SVD, what really sticks out is the rounds per minute, 120. That is as spammy as it gets for a sniper, especially one that may be given a one-shot range. If you look into the weapon stats in the game files, it has a 306 headshot damage out to 51 meters. That is insane. If they grant this thing a one shot to the head, really at any range, coupled with a 120 RPM, it will be hilariously broken. As for the LR762 being a safe bet, if we check that one out, it has over 1300 meters per second bullet velocity. I think it is likely it will have an infinite one-shot range and be the absolute best out of those compared to like the CAT AMR or even the MORS. But we'll see. In the game files, it has a 306 damage headshot out to approximately 76 meters. The reason I think it is a better bet to level than the Frostline is just because the Frostline stacked with bullet velocity attachments still has over 100 meters per second less bullet velocity. So even if they don't mirror that perfectly, it seems like the trend is they want the LR762 to just have the maximum bullet velocity of this batch of snipers. At number 6, we are really getting into the nitty-gritty of this list. These are going to be safe bets. Hopefully we get an AR meta. Warzone plays so well when we have AR metas. But the XM4 has the potential to be very, very, very strong, if not meta. It's a beam. It's got great TTKs. It always seems to be the all reliable, the one that is strong in every meta, if not the absolute number one option. And I don't think you can go wrong having this thing ready for day one. Interestingly as well, there is potentially access to a 100 round drum, which would just be insane if it doesn't gut handling. Before we get into weapon stats for these ARs, I got the AK-74. I would love if this thing is meta. Those moderate fire rate, hits like a truck type ARs like the AMAX from way back in Warzone 1 just make for a really healthy, highly skillful meta. I think it's very likely this thing will be super powerful. When we get to the DPS charts, there is some fun surprises in store with this bad boy. I will say, make sure you have the overpressured ready. I do not just yet, but I will for day one. We want that bullet velocity for sure. And at number 4, we got the Model L. This thing has the best recoil in the entire game. Unless they decide to make it a pea shooter, I think there is a very, very solid chance it will be meta outside of any like weird outliers. If they accidentally break a DMR, this thing is a really safe bet to be a meta contender. And over on the DPS charts, it is not too shabby. As we know, recoil is king, so there is a very, very good chance this could be the next Krig, the next STG. Absolute monstrosity, the Model L. So if we have a look at the AR DPS charts within Black Ops 6, the AK-74 is king, and it does not have bad recoil whatsoever, and it's getting right next to that 300 DPS line, which would start to make it actually quite broken. and a ton of damage range, almost 40 meters without attachments. The XM4 is solid as expected, and for how incredible the recoil is on the Model L, it is not bad at all. It actually beats the XM4 at a ton of ranges and absolutely destroys something like the GPR 91, which I think it also has better recoil than. Honorable mention would definitely go to like the aims, so if you have a little extra time, go ahead and get that leveled up just in case. I will say with the AS Val, a lot of people love it. It's quite good in multiplayer. It could make like a mid-range sniper support, but it doesn't even hit that 300 DPS in the max damage range. It's going to be much slower handling than SMGs. It's going to get destroyed by them close range. Yeah, it has some mid-range capability. So like I said, maybe you could fit it in if you like to play like a hard scope sniper. This could be kind of your all-arounder. Something to consider. Personally, don't think it's that important to have ready day one. It is unlikely to be meta. Plus, it's the last gun to unlock as far as I know, so not super important to stress about. Now for arguably the most important weapon class to have ready for day one, the SMGs. I would even say if you have the extra time, just go ahead and get every SMG leveled up. They all have the potential to be the meta secondary. It's kind of a crapshoot deciding which one. However, we've got some clues in the weapon stats, which we'll get to. Spoiler alert, this compact has the best in class DPS. It absolutely shreds. It's got some substantial range fall off, so this is going to be the in your face, dominate inside buildings while having fantastic handling. Has a real shot to be the day one meta. Unfortunately, it is the last to unlock, so I've got a really safe bet for you guys at number 2. The MP5 historically has dominated the meta, honestly more than any other gun. It was meta for almost an entire year back in Verdansk, still strong after that. The Cold War MP5 was fantastic and a meta contender as well. Fast forward to Modern Warfare 2, the MP5 was meta for almost its entirety. It is a very, very, very safe bet that the C9 will be meta. If you do have the time to prestige, you will unlock a blueprint called Teddy is a Liar, which gives it arguably the best iron sights in the game. That's why I have this gain twist barrel on there. If you are just running the standard MP5, you don't have time to prestige, I would recommend just throwing the long barrel on there. No surprises over on the DPS chart. The compact is king. Broken territory on its DPS, 366, all the way out to past 10 meters. This is crazy stuff. If that holds, it will be broken. The C9 is also insane with over 350, and it gets almost 14 meters of damage range without any attachments. Crazy stuff. The KSV is another outlier on this DPS chart, so that is definitely the next one I would get leveled. But like I said, if they don't end up translating these damage values over, it's really a crapshoot. Any of the SMGs could be meta, so if there's one weapon class where I would go ahead and get everything leveled, it would definitely be SMGs. Outside of shotguns, you basically will always have an SMG in your loadout. They make great sniper supports. They are typically the meta. Shotguns are going to be banned from ranked anyway, so it stands to reason you should get those SMGs ready. Honorable mention is going to go to the marksman rifles. It's just a total crapshoot whether these things will be meta or not. Honestly, if you really look at the grand history of Warzone, most marksman rifles are completely horrible. We're all traumatized from like the DMR, the interceptor metas. So there is a chance maybe they'll overtune the DM10. It is possible. Also, burst rifles like the AUG, M16. We've had crazy broken burst rifles. So it's kind of a dice roll. Hard to say which of these could be the one. So if you have extra time, maybe just get them all at least moderately leveled. We do have a clue in the game files though. Honestly, they did a good job of setting trigger caps, stuff like that. They are horrible from a DPS standpoint, even if you manage to hit the trigger cap, at least in BO6, and there is a chance they're going to carry that stuff over. I think it's likely, especially with trigger caps, they probably will carry those over. It's kind of just the basic mechanics of the gun, and it seems unlikely they're going to accidentally break the damage values. So with that stuff in mind, I don't think it's likely, but you never know. They may break one of these, so if you have extra time, consider getting them leveled. Hopefully they learned their lesson from those awful DMR and interceptor metas. Without further ado, I got for you guys what I think to be the absolute number one option, the most likely to be the meta long-range primary. The PU-21 is completely insane. It gets access to the Fast Mag 1, which essentially converts it into a super AR, as we'll see on the DPS charts. It checks every box you could want from a long-range primary, hits like an absolute truck, laser beam recoil, fast enough handling. Warzone loves their LMG metas. This could be the Bren 2.0, and I think there's a really good chance that it will be. If we look at the DPS chart, one of these things is not like the others. The white line is the PU-21. Yes, it's classified as an LMG. However, we put that Fast Mag 1 on there, it basically becomes an AR, and then just has obscenely broken damage output compared to those ARs. Another note, the damage fall off is almost negligible. Even after its first damage range, where it falls off out to infinity, it is still killing faster than even the AK does point blank. That is just absurdly broken. If they do transfer over these damage values, this thing will be one of the most insane automatic metas we have ever had. Even if they don't, and it just sort of trends similarly, I think there's such a good chance this will be meta. I definitely would prioritize getting it leveled. It unlocks super early, if not right off the bat. So definitely get this thing leveled. Good luck out there, Giga fam. I am so thrilled for the Black Ops 6 integration. I am so ready for next week. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace!